And so here are another set of provisions that are very enforcement based. Now we're talking about the enforcement and the security of the country. The Dignity Act also touches on that, and one of them is securing the border and restoring law and order. It would mandate 100% nationwide e-verify, which currently businesses are not required to do e-verify.
And that's fine. I mean, if they're also allowing people to get work authorization, then that should kind of even out, right? Mm-hmm. People who are here, assuming they meet the criteria to qualify for the program, would be getting work authorization. And so through the e-verify process, it should just check out as good to go, and that's it.
Yeah, but the thing is that a lot of employers, businesses have taken advantage of e-verify not being mandatory, so they don't have to essentially check, but they can employ people.
Well, whose fault is that?
Right.
Well, whose problem is that?
Whose fault is that?
But even if they don't, I feel like sometimes they maybe have chosen not to for a variety of reasons, I'm sure. But at least one reason is probably the fact that they know that if they have to use e-verify or have to check all sorts of documents, they're not going to be able to find enough people to fill in the jobs that they need. And so they've kind of left some stuff out so that they can fill the positions that they need, even if it happens to be with people who do not have lawful documents to work. But if you fix that problem, then maybe it would be less of an issue even for employers.
Mm-hmm. So I know I've seen this comment pop out a few times, but the anti-immigration reform stance has also been, well, you liberals are okay with forced servitude because you're basically saying that these immigrants can come here, take all these jobs, and work for less than what an American would work for, and you're okay with that. That's been an argument.
I'm sure that has. I don't know how true that is.
I don't know how true that is either, but at any rate, e-verify would prevent that. If that's a stance that you're looking at. Like, forced servitude. How can you be okay with that? Well,
no, but e-verify would solve that issue. But I'm saying as far as like employers not wanting to use that system, again, I'm not in their brain. I don't know the reasons that they may have against it, but one of them is probably just not being able to find enough people to work.
I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. I think that's really the main reason is you want to get workers. You don't have to go through e-verify. You can pay these workers under the table. Probably for less money than what they should be paid.
They pay them, a lot of them, especially if they're companies even, like they pay them paychecks. It's just that they don't check if the social that the person is using is a real social. Mm-hmm. A lot of times people use like a made up number. So.
Okay, when I was in Florida and I lived in Florida, I went orange picking.
No one is fighting for orange picking jobs. Those employers are looking for workers right now because so many people have left or been forced to leave or whatever the case is. And those positions are going unfilled.
Right. It's crazy though. Like when I went orange picking for fun, fun, just orange picking.
We need to talk about what you think is fun.
I mean, I kind of pictured it like apple picking, in the Midwest. Like it's like cozy and crispy air and stuff like that. No, total opposite. Humid, hot,
terrible
sticky,
conditions.
Bees everywhere, rodents everywhere. Like it's not something fun to do. And we don't want to say the undocumented are only limited to these jobs because they're only capable of doing these jobs. What we will say is that they're willing to take these jobs.
Right, because no one else wants to fill those positions. Right. It's not like orange picking is a competitive field for people applying for those jobs. Right. Construction, same thing. Like I have family down in Arizona who were building some properties down there, and the same thing. The workforce is largely Latino, and now they're even struggling to find people who are willing to do that work because, again, so many people have left or are afraid to show up or whatever the circumstances may be. So they're struggling to find people to do the work. So where are the U.S. citizens?
Yeah.
Why is nobody rushing to apply for construction jobs?
Right.
Why doesn't everybody want to be a roofer?
Right.
Or whatever, typical positions, I guess, that are largely filled by an immigrant workforce. Mm-hmm. Those positions are there and nobody wants to apply for them. And if somebody has an opportunity to apply for an office job or something that's better paying and in controlled temperature settings, they're going to opt for those.
Right. And it's crazy because I saw a video circulating. You mentioned roofing, and I saw a video circulating. I think it was from Maryland. This person contracted a Latino-based company to do the roof.
Oh, and then she didn't want to pay him?
Yeah, the roof was done. When she got that invoice, she called ICE. And I'm like, what kind of a sick human being are you to do that? Like, what disgust? It's disgusting. Like, I can't even, like, begin to think about what type of a human you are, because it's disgusting. And I'm a woman of faith. Good luck explaining that to God. That's all I gotta say.
No, I don't think she's worried about that. She's not thinking about God at all, which is unfortunate. But that's another thing. Like, a lot of times people in these work settings are also taken advantage of, and there's no recourse. Because, oh, well, they shouldn't have been doing the work anyway. You fucking hired them to do the roof. Why did you hire them?
Right.
If you didn't think they should have been doing the job anyway.
Right. So maybe they'll have a pathway to U visa. I hope so.
Maybe.
But yeah, I mean, these are the kind of situations, particularly that video that was circulating, where it's like, that's just evil. Like, okay, I get it. You're an anti-immigration stance. Like, you have the approach of, like, do it the right way, which could also, we can go into that an extensive amount of time, but, you know, people taking advantage of other people like this and thinking it's okay, like asking for a service and not, you don't do that in any other aspect in life. You don't go seek a service and not pay for it.
Right. Like, that's not an okay thing to do.
Yeah, not a very nice human being. But anyway, so yeah, that's the E-Verify aspect. Why do E-Verify? Achieves operational control and advantages of the southern border by employing a comprehensive southern border strategy, constructs enhanced physical barriers, and deploys the most up-to-date technology at the border. So again, this is all the enforcement side of the bill. Implements new policies to stop criminals crossing the border illegally, including new authorities to track illicit spotters. Raises penalties. I'm okay with this. Penalties on human traffickers and child sex traffickers. I don't have any issues with that. I'm fine with that. Increases penalties for helping individuals illegally cross the border. So in my mind, I'm thinking coyotes. And for destroying equipment and sensors intended to deter illegal border crossings. Provides DHS the authority to use DNA testing to verify family relationships. I'm okay with that because you've heard the other side of it too, of kids coming with people who are not their parents, kids going missing. Yeah. I'm not okay with that. If you want to talk about vulnerability, the children are the most vulnerable.
Yes, but all of this sounds good, because who doesn't want safety and security for all involved? So it all sounds real suave, right? Real good. My concern again would be, I think, trying to figure out what is
the subjective enforcement.
The subjective enforcement, and what is meant by all these things, and how is this being evaluated? Like, who are we talking about when you say smuggler? Is it a mom bringing her kid?
I would want to say no, and simply because of this, because it's saying that DNA testing to verify a family relationship. So if it's a mom and a kid, why do you need to verify family relationship?
Right. But are those two separate things, is what I'm saying? Because right now there is a ban for people who have brought their own children to the United States as children. So I don't know, like, that's just one thing that obviously is not, like, fleshed out there, and I would hope that it would be, but I would want stuff like that to, like, really, I'd need more details on this.
Yeah.
And then also definitely. There's the security issue in terms of surveillance too, or a privacy issue in terms of surveillance. That I get people coming into the country aren't afforded the same level of privacy rights, understood, but when does that then cross into I can apply these practices to people in the U.S.? Anytime I hear stuff like that, I'm like, I don't know. I need more information.
Yeah, but then my counter argument
yellow
to that,
light.
my counter argument to that is, like, in my heart, I hope we all still have our fundamental right to privacy as Americans, right?
That is being challenged heavily currently.
Exactly. So it's not that I'm agreeing with not having it. It's just, to what point do you really have privacy when you have a phone tracking you the whole time? Or the information you put into Google, or the information you put into TikTok or Instagram or whatever, Facebook. Like, I feel like there's been an encroachment to our privacy.
Absolutely.
Forever.
Yeah.
Right? And so, I mean, that's not really, for me, it's like, I don't really, and perhaps I should, but I don't really think about that as much here, at least, with what the language that's on the bill, because it's something that's been encroached about already as American
It has,
citizens.
but it will continue to be encroached further, I think, if we don't like draw
a hard line
on some of this stuff, or figure out a way to check it. And some of it is discretionary. I mean, wasn't there something here in Wisconsin, or maybe it was Waukesha specifically? I don't remember. But the thing about surveillance programs that the police can use, and I should have looked this up, but it just came to mind to me right now. There was one in particular where they like recently I saw something about it saying that they are agreeing not to use it.
Not to use surveillance?
Not to use this particular surveillance program or camera system or something. I can't remember exactly what it was, but they had agreed not to use it because of the ways that it can be misused.
Is it like street surveillance, or?
I think maybe it was. I don't remember. It was called like Force or something with an F.
And it was for anyone, not just limited in scope to like undocumented?
Correct.
Oh.
And I want to say it was law enforcement. Keep talking. I'm going to look stuff up.
Yeah, because I'm thinking about, I mean, when I was in Florida, there was literally cameras everywhere for like vehicle enforcement, if you will, and or
yeah, there's like,
for example, if there was like a brawl after you went out to the bar or something, the law enforcement would pull the video from the cameras that were in the streets, like in downtown areas and whatnot. So, I mean, you're being recorded no matter what.
February 2026, Milwaukee Police Chief announced the department would prohibit facial recognition technology and cease plans to acquire software from Biometrica. It was in Milwaukee, but that's a choice, because I think there was a lot of pushback, a lot of noise from the community about that and how that can be misused. And I think the PD chose to take that into account to say, like, yeah, this can be misappropriated and lines could be crossed, and so we're just choosing not to use this technology. For how long? Until when? Are there other technologies that they're using that kind of do the same thing? I don't know. Probably. But there are ways to also achieve whatever they need to achieve without some of these things, because of the fact that they encroach on privacy rights in a lopsided way. Like, what they encroach on is worse than the benefit that you would get out of using it.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of this also needs to be fleshed out in this bill as well, that sure, we want all these surveillance options and whatnot, and these parameters that we can use, but I think we have to also just be like really careful about what that means, because we also have these constitutional rights we want to continue to protect.
I am going to have a quick rebuttal on the encroachment of like cameras, for example, of privacy, and mainly body cam footage for officers. I was a prosecutor for some time, and that body cam footage could literally help defendants, because if you didn't have that body cam footage, it was the defendant's word against the officer's word.
But right? It's limited to that encounter.
Right.
Yeah.
But at any rate, his privacy at that point is essentially being encroached because he's being recorded, right? This defendant is being recorded. Even if they're in their house, they're being recorded.
Right.
And so there were cases where it was like, you would hope that, as citizens, we hope that law enforcement is being diligent, is being honest, is there to serve justice, right? But maybe what was reflected on that camera was different.
Right.
You know? And so it sucked to look at like hours and hours of footage sometimes, but it also helped determine whether a case was to go forward or not.
Yeah.
To the benefit of of that person who's essentially privacy was being encroached. I don't know. Oh, we're getting into a different topic, but it literally, like, I am, after being a prosecutor, I am a very vocal advocate for body cam footage, without a doubt, 100%.
I think body cam footage is important because it's for the safety of both sides, right?
Yeah.
So that I understand, and it makes sense to have that because you just don't know, and the camera is going to show what it shows. Otherwise, it's he said, she said.
Right.
But again, it's limited to that encounter versus, I don't know what kind of surveillance measures they're talking about here. It's very vague. Now, if they're talking about Border Patrol officers being forced to wear a body cam and recording all encounters, makes sense. I don't see any reason why they shouldn't. But I don't know that that's what's being discussed, or if it's something else, and how far is this going when we're talking about surveillance, right? So I just would want more information about that. I don't think we should just go ahead and give a blank check to, like, oh, surveillance, green light, go for it.
Yeah.
Like, what are we talking about when we say surveillance?
I mean, it says it enhances port of entry security by expanding surveillance and intrusion detection systems. So when I read this language, I'm thinking just specifically to the border. Like, if somebody's jumping over the fence, something's triggering their surveillance there.
A reasonable person would think this, yes.
Yes. I would like to think myself as a reasonable person.
A reasonable person would perceive it that way. Is that how CBP is going to read it? I don't know.
Well, that's why you have to have the head of the agency,
yeah,
enforcing the law by way of policy, right?
Yeah.
Telling them, hey, this is what we're doing, this is what we're not doing. And if somebody doesn't do what they were supposed to be doing based on policy, there's this thing called termination, right? They go through their process, and if it's determined that he wasn't following policy, he can get terminated.
I half agree.
You have to agree?
I know, HALF.
Oh,
I 0.5 out of a full point agree. Only because I disagree with the policy portion of it. Only because I've seen what those sorts of things look like with this current administration.
Right.
And the heads of the agencies and the stupid fucked up shit that they consistently do. And if you leave it to them, they're just going to do stupid fucked up shit. So there's got to be a more neutral way to address that that's not, again, going to be at the whims of whatever psychopath is head of agency for that particular 4 years.
Right, but when I say, like, policy, I mean, like, policy is limited in scope with the law, right? You can't just completely deviate from the law.
I hate policy, I'm just saying. I don't believe in policy.
So if you have somebody who's completely, like, going a 180 from what the law dictates, then
it still has to be within the parameters of the law, but I think the law is so vague that it allows way too much wiggle room in the policy, and that's where you run into problems. And that's the problem with immigration in general, that immigration laws are vague in a lot of ways, and that leaves a lot of room for policy, and the policies are all over the fucking place, and most of the time, I don't want to hit this wall over
Where's
here.
your gavel?
Yeah, like, give me the fucking gavel. And the policies that fill in these gaps are all over the place and become more and more psychotic every 4 years.
Yeah. Yeah, but there's a reason why immigration is so wonky, right?
Because we don't have that structure and the definitiveness that it needs. And
it's a campaign issue.
Yeah.
It's been a campaign issue for decades, and it will remain a campaign issue until something is done. And I think this proposal, by HR 4393, like, I think you're hitting on a lot of key things. I do.
It does. It does hit on good things overall, but I would just want to fine tune it a little more on some of these things.
And I'm sure it will be fine tuned. Like this, I mean, it's only been introduced. And then the last one is improves legal commerce and trade by expanding inspection lanes and investing in X-ray technology to safely inspect commercial vehicles, which I'm fine with that. If you're not bringing in tons of cocaine or marijuana or whatever you want, or humans in trailers, like, I'm fine with that. Like, that's fine with me. I will concede to those. I think most Americans will concede to those. And then the other section was the asylum system, which, again, a big issue is, our asylum claims just a bunch of fraud cases that they don't even qualify for asylum. No, no, right? But if that is an issue that you're worried about, they talked about it in this bill.
Yeah, I mean, the issue with asylum, and I think why people are like so freaked out over it, is that during the last administration, it seemed like everybody just got a green light. And what people don't understand is that just because you are allowed to come into the country doesn't mean that you are granted asylum.
Right.
What happens is that people can make a claim that they fear persecution in their country. You can make that claim. Now, making that claim doesn't mean that it's automatically a yes. Just because you said, I'm afraid to go back because of XYZ reason doesn't mean that it's enough for you to be granted asylum. But you need officers, you need people to review those claims thoroughly to try to figure out, does this person meet the criteria within the law? Like, do you qualify for asylum? And asylum is pretty narrow. You have to have a well-founded fear of persecution based on one of 5 protected grounds, based on race, religion, nationality, political opinion, and membership in a particular social group. If you don't fall into one of those 5 buckets, you don't qualify for asylum. I'm afraid I can't find a job in my home country, not legit for asylum. But you need an officer to review that, to vet that, to figure out, does this person fall into this category? What happened in the last administration is, and still goes on today, there are not enough officers available to review the volume of cases. By our law and by international law, once a person makes a claim, you have to give them the opportunity to present their full case. Since we don't have enough officers at the border to deal with this, what happened is these people were paroled into the country and then given court dates to go to court and present their full claim. Now, they may go to court, the judge will review their case, and it turns out they don't qualify. At that point, they're ordered removed. So they still don't get asylum. And then they would be either returned, or some steps would be taken for that person to obviously be removed from the country in some capacity.
Just to clarify, you're talking about the people who came in during the Biden administration?
Correct. I mean, at any time, but there was seemingly a large wave, I guess, that appeared between 2020 and 2024 or whatever it was. So that's the group of people that everyone seems to be freaked out about. But that doesn't mean that they got asylum. It just means that they were given an opportunity and given due process to go through this application process or court system or whatever it needed to be to figure out if they qualify or not. And if they do meet the criteria, then they do get asylum. And if they don't, they would still be ordered removed or measures taken to remove them from the country. They're just coming to the border and explaining their situation and expecting the person who's reviewing their case to know what the fuck they're doing. And it turns out that person had no idea what the fuck they were doing either. So rather than hate people for requesting it, what we need to do is really figure out, how do we get more people into these positions so that they can review the cases and review them in a timely fashion. I would rather know if I qualify for a benefit within a few days. Right. Is it a yes or is it a no? And then that way we all rest, rather than have to wait 10 fucking years just to know if this is a yes or a no. Because what the fuck am I supposed to do with that no 10 years later? Right. Then the whole thing is just more fucked and complicated. Yeah. So I think this bill is trying to
fix that, trying to help out with that. Yeah, so fixing our asylum system. It says expedites processing, which is what Kimmy is kind of talking about right now, and ends catch and release policies. Catch and release policy. Can you briefly go on that, Kimmy?
Catch and release, it's not the same as asylum though. Like, not necessarily the same. So catch and release is basically this policy that if you come into contact with a border officer or whatever, like you're picked up at the border trying to come into the United States, they'll usually print you and run some kind of background check, and then on policy, they may just choose to return you back to Mexico across the border, and then that's it. They don't put a formal order of deportation. If they were to formally deport you, what that does is just create a bigger problem for that person down the line. And there's also more paperwork involved and all this other stuff. So catch and release is just anybody that comes to a port of entry, and the officer just decides, like, we're just going to print you, but we're not going to put in a formal order. And sometimes they'll try again, and you may come into contact with this person at the border multiple times, or sometimes they only come into contact one time. But basically, it just means that there is no order of deportation formally on their record. But it doesn't necessarily have anything to do with asylum.
No.
So if somebody came to the port of entry and claimed asylum, what should happen is that they should be given a credible fear interview and then evaluated for whether or not there's a basis, at least a minimal basis for asylum. They wouldn't necessarily be returned.
I think the way I'm reading this is, it doesn't have to do anything with asylum, because if you're caught and released, like, you probably weren't seeking asylum.
Right.
So the language says ends, catch, and release and policies. And I think the reason why it's saying it ends, catch, and release, again, this is me going off of practicality, is so that they're prevented from trying to do that again later, and they're just permanently barred at that point.
But then how does that fix the problem? Because that person eventually is going to find a way to come here if they're committed to doing it, right?
Right.
So assuming like if the border is so impermeable that there's no way for them to do this, they don't need the deportation order. The border is going to handle it, right? The effectiveness of the border controls is going to handle it. If the border still has some spots where people can still sneak through, they're going to find a way to do it. They are still going to come into the U.S., and all that's going to do is create an issue for our immigration system further down the line when they're trying to adjust. Then you basically just end up locking that person into an indefinitely undocumented position.
Right. So, yes. So what I'm getting at is that catch and release essentially was a benefit to those who were released. Why? Because you don't have a formal order of deportation, right?
Yeah.
Maybe they got your prints, but there's no formal order of deportation. And why is this a benefit to an undocumented person or to someone who's trying to get any type of status? Well, you see, when you have an order of deportation, that triggers a bar. But if they're caught and released, then it means I don't have to worry about that bar anymore.
Expedited order is 5 years.
Or expedited is 5 years. But at any rate, you're going to be out of the country. But if it's catch and release and you don't have an order, you don't have to worry about that bar. It seems like what they want to do is they want to really penalize those people. So if they're caught, they're going to have, no matter what,
right.
an expedited order. So if that person's going to come again, guess what? You're never going to be able to adjust.
But we already have a group of people like that. Like, there are people who have expedited orders.
Right, but the catch and release don't have an expedited order.
They don't, but I'm saying that there are people who do have expedited orders of removal from years ago, whenever maybe there was a time when they took away the catch and release policy. And so I've had people come in for consultations that just so happen to have an expedited order of removal. And they're still here. The only thing it's done is obviously punish them further from being able to gain lawful status, or just complicate the process even worse for them. But it didn't prevent that person from coming here. And it's not preventing that person from staying here. Like, they're still here. They're just in the shadows. And is that what we're trying to do? Because people in Mexico or Guatemala or Russia or wherever the hell they're coming from, they don't know what the fuck an expedited order is. Mm-hmm. They don't know immigration laws. They don't know that there are these parameters or rules or whatever. You know what people would really love to do? People would really love to file or apply for some sort of lawful visa for them to come to the U.S. They get that visa. Everybody goes on their merry way. That'd be fucking great. The reason that they don't do that is because that's not an option. So they're forced to seek ways to come out of a difficult situation, whatever their finances may be or whatever their life is back home, to try to seek better opportunities in the U.S., and they end up having to do that by undocumented means. Mm-hmm. They don't know what the immigration laws are, and they have no idea what the fuck the penalties are for it. Even if they know, like, okay, I know it's illegal for me to do this without permission, they don't know what the consequences are.
Right.
So having a consequence like a expedited removal, and whatever that means legally for them, I don't understand how that would be a deterrent if people don't know that there is that consequence or what it means.
Mm-hmm. I see it more as of Now everyone will have an expedited removal as opposed to just some people.
But then what's the goal of that? Is the goal deterrence?
Well, realistically, the only way that you will be deterred is if they stop you. If Border Patrol stops you, like you just can't get through, and you're going to have this order of deportation, unless expedited removal, unless you get through and in some future you try to adjust by a petition, and you're permanently barred. But at that point, if you were living under the radar that whole time until you found an opportunity to adjust, and now you're in the radar, now you're under the umbrella of the government, you're going to be deported at that point. So it would be a temporary stay for that person, and they wouldn't have an opportunity to do anything.
No, but like those are the consequences of it. But I'm just saying, as far as in the mind of that person who's coming here, I don't think they're taking that into consideration because they don't know it.
Yeah.
Like I'm deterred from committing felonies because, well, for a variety of reasons, but let's just say that at the very base level, like I want to avoid jail time. Like I don't want to go to jail. And I know that's one of the consequences. So that's, in a way, that may be a deterrent. But if you have no concept of felonies, then, or the consequences of them, then your thought process is going to be different. Then you're going to hope you don't commit that felony for those other reasons. But the fact that you might go to jail or not doesn't even factor in because you don't know that that's a thing.
Yeah. Yeah, but I guess the bigger issue here is then, or the question we should ask is it our job to educate these people who are crossing and who are recrossing and who are trying to recross at least?
No, I don't think you can't educate them at the border. Like at that point, they've already made the decision about whether they're coming here or not. But I just don't see the deterrent aspect. I think as far as like the catch and release policy ending, it's definitely voter oriented. It's not going to really do anything about the number of people that are trying to come here. Those numbers are going down as is for a variety of other reasons. But I don't think the catch and release thing specifically is the issue. Even if they left that, I don't think it'll make a difference. Like, that's not why people come here.
Yeah. I do feel like it would deter people, though. I do think, maybe not everyone, but I do think it will at least...
Expedited orders?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Maybe some.
I'm going to leave it alone. We can move on now.
Okay. That was a long... See, do you see what I mean? Like, these topics are like, you can just talk about them nonstop.
Rattle on forever. Ms. Salazar and Ms. Escobar need to give me a call.
Yeah, realistically. So the next point is it established at least 3 humanitarian campuses that will receive individuals and families arriving at the southern border for immediate processing. So again, like not taking 10 years to process this, but immediate processing. Asylum seekers will remain at a humanitarian campus until their case is decided, and they will have freedom of movement within the humanitarian campus, access to state-of-the-art facilities, medical personnel, social workers, and mental health professionals, legal counsel, and non-governmental organizations.
That's fine.
It decides asylum cases within 60 days instead of 10 years. Asylum seekers will undergo an initial credible fear interview, which is what you mentioned, within 15 days of arrival, and further screening by trained asylum officers for final determination within an additional 45 days. Creates additional immigration centers in Latin America to stop migrant caravans and prevent individuals from making the dangerous land journey to the United States. I'm okay with that. I mean, if they can pay millions of dollars to have the, whatever it's called in El Salvador, CCOT, why not do it for immigration centers in Latin America? The centers will offer asylum pre-screening, family reunification services for children, and employment consultation services. It would increase penalties for applicants that make false statements or provide false documentation, authorizes USCIS to terminate asylum applications if fraud is detected, which I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Establishes a new 2-strike policy for anyone caught crossing a non-port of entry to ensure legitimate asylum seekers are processed appropriately, while bad actors are apprehended and removed expeditiously. I'm okay with all those things, especially the moving the process along quick, because nobody should be in limbo for 10 years.
I don't think anybody wants that.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't think anyone wants to be in limbo for 10 years.
No.
So that's the enforcement part of the bill. The securing the border, restoring law and order, and then fixing our asylum system. Those are two that were really, there's an emphasis on the enforcement, which is what people want to hear. I mean, there's give and take in this. Is it perfect? No, it's not perfect. But it sounds like.
I mean, it's hopeful.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it sounds like some people might be open to the idea. Who is this that I'm referring to? Who's some people? Well, I'm referring to Stephen Miller. Now, he hasn't come out.
We were doing so great.
I'm sorry, I just ruined your day.
Just ruined my entire weekend.
He hasn't, not day, but weekend. He hasn't exactly come out and said, I support this bill, because we all know Stephen Miller's stance. Like, this guy is a bad hombre. He wants to get everyone out. And so here's a little snippet. We'll listen to it. And tell me if this sounds like your typical Stephen Miller. Tell me if this sounds like the Stephen Miller we've heard for the last year and a half.
Well, you know that this administration opposes amnesty. President Trump has always been clear in his opposition to amnesty. And I, of course, my own views. But I want to reframe this whole conversation, Brian, if I could, to something that President Trump has been very focused on for a long time. And that's about having the kind of immigration to this country that makes us stronger, not weaker. I think this conversation gets siloed too often when we have to look at the whole picture. Gotcha. And so this old Washington conversation about amnesty is missing the whole point. The real conversation is, how do we have an immigration policy that makes America stronger and more unified, not weaker and more divided?
First of all, if you play that at the border, I think people will just self-leave.
Like, you know what? I'm good.
I am so good. I think I'm at the wrong fucking country. Never mind.
I'm good to go. Let me try Canada.
But no, go ahead.
So, wholly change of tone. Talking about, let's reframe the conversation. He's never been, how can we fix the system? He is, how can we get rid of people?
Yeah.
Right? And so if you go look at this Fox interview, you can see it yourself. It almost like, it seems like it pains him to say this. Like it's hurting him to say it. Like reframe the conversation. Like it literally looks like it hurts him to say this, because he's so anti-immigration. I'm of the opinion, and
so what you're saying is both Stephen Miller and I got through this without vomiting. That's crazy.
Basically. You two are the same, but like on different. But what I'm getting at is that it because midterms are coming up, there's a change of tone with politicians right now. And so how can we tone it down a bit? Let's get the person who has been an advocate for anti-immigration and talk on this topic, Stephen Miller. I do think that things are moving, maybe slightly, not for the benefit of immigrants, of course not. It's for the benefit of politicians.
Oh, for sure.
To stay in their respective offices.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think we may see something come through in terms of the Dignity Act. Maybe it's not exactly what we were talking about, but based on what that individual said, who we all know is very anti-immigration reform, based on his language, I think that there's something coming. I do think.
I mean, I hope that there is something that's sensical. Again, I don't know. I have mixed feelings about it because, yes, it is good and it's progress and it's moving in a positive direction overall. I'm not happy with some of the parameters just because I feel like they are disproportionately punitive to immigrants in some ways. But I understand that concessions have to be made, so there is that. But I don't know. We'll see, I guess.
And so, again, what does this mean for the Dignity Act? We don't know. Only time will tell. It's been introduced. It's before 7 committees right now. If it gets to the Senate, that's a step forward. If it gets to the Senate, they may tweak it a bit. Who knows? Ultimately, the person who's going to sign off on it is going to be the man in the White House, Mr.
Trompas.
Donald Trump. Donald Trump. But like I said, I mean, there's concessions on both sides with this bill. I think we're going to post this on the YouTube page, the link of Congresswoman Maria Salazar, her actual page, and like the key points, and then the actual bill, the link to the bill, so you can read it yourself and check it out and see, yeah, I can agree with this, or no, I don't agree with it. I think it's a little more towards anti-reform, if you will, than for reform, but at least it's something. And I guess the saving grace for me is that this doesn't prevent you from adjusting through a petition should petition become available.
Yeah, like you can still access the other avenues that already exist.
Right.
But
It's not a legal pathway, but if an opportunity presents itself where a person can adjust at some point, they can still do that. It doesn't prevent them from doing that. So if y'all have any questions,
thoughts, comments, send them,
or comments,
send them our way. Where can they reach us, Jennifer?
they can reach us at our YouTube page, which is Routes y Raíces, or they can reach us by email, which is routesthepod@gmail.com. So routes, ROUTES, the THE, pod, POD, @gmail.com. We hope you enjoyed this session. There's so much to go into. There's so much we went into, perhaps deviated slightly, but it's okay because that's what immigration is about. It's about
deviations and all kinds of things. It's definitely that. But yeah, let us know, and then if there's something on this that you want us to spend more time on, we can always circle back to it. So just keep us posted, and thank you for tuning in.
All right, y'all. If you want to see if you qualify or not for a potential pathway, go into Maria Salazar's page. And I did want to play this clip of her before we go. She wrote on her Instagram page, "America is hearing the truth. The Dignity Act is not just an immigration bill. It is a national security bill. It is an economic bill. It is a workforce bill. It is an American values bill. Veterans, mixed status families, manufacturers, faith leaders, real voices from across the country are speaking with one message. The system is broken and the time to fix it is now." And this is her.
If we want to continue being the #1 military in the world, we need to continue being the #1 economy in the world. And if we do not have hands to make that economy grow, I'm not sure how we're going to do that. So it's the veterans, it's the mixed family, it's the agricultural, construction, hospitality, it's everything. So dignity is not an immigration legislation. Dignity is an economic and national security legislation, so we'll cover and we'll protect every single American, regardless of their political affiliation.
You heard it from her, and you'll see the links yourself so you can read it yourself. Until then, God bless y'all.
Bye.
Adios.